Hello, and welcome to American Chess Magazine. This is my 64th chess uh, review, including the books and everything else. Today I want to look at a publication I haven't seen for a while. There it is. My first reaction is that it actually doesn't have any chess pieces, apart from the knight up here, on the cover. And it looks very cluttered, as if it's a sci-fi magazine or even something to do with motorbikes or something. Obviously, this is Magnus Carlsen, bless his heart, and his name's here. And once you start to read the text, as I did, maybe a lot of the prejudice falls away, and the word chess does appear here. I still think for a chess magazine, we might see some chess squares and pieces, but that's just my prejudice. On the back, they've got an advert for Fritz, which after all is pretty important to so many people. I hate to tell you this, but I've even got one myself. Let's look through and see what we get. Here we go. It's won awards for the best overall chess magazine in the US for 2021, 2019, and 18. So that's 4 for 5 years. And of course, this year hasn't finished, so it presumably would go up. Here we are with some the tournaments in Holland, Rijkazee. Okay. For once, I'm holding it still, so that's not too bad. You can see all the competitors and results of the games. There you are on the tables. It says Carlsen maintains his form. Well, we're now the 5th month of the year, and I'm pleased to say he is maintaining his form, I would have thought. And here is the World Championship being written up. After a period of reconnaissance that lasted for the first 5 games of the match, in the 6th encounter, the reigning world champion managed to obtain a position which can best be described as his favorite type. He slowly squeezed his challenger for 7 hours and eventually scored a critical win on move, are you ready for this? 136. This game had a huge negative impact on Nepo's play in the following games, and surprisingly, the match ended already after game 11, without any need to proceed with the 3 further scheduled games. Magnus won games 6, 8, 9, and 11. All the rest of the games, there were 11 played, were draws, and the challenger, who was from Russia, didn't win any games at all. I think he played below form, and I don't mean that in terms of ELO, I mean that in terms of moves. And I think he was nervous. I think he can but benefit from the match, and I'm hoping that he will be amongst the challengers. They're having a candidates in Spain, in Madrid next month, and he'll be there, I think and hope. So he's registered for Russia, which would mean that will cause a problem, but it may not be insuperable. The games are annotated, fairly light notes, and quite a bit of narrative. If you search objectively for the compelling underlying cause of the diagram, might give you a clue. I won't show you the diagram, it's a bit small. We see the challenger exerting enormous pressure on the world champion with his beautiful knight pair. Yes, he's got one on b3 and d3, and supported by a pawn, a black pawn, on c4, in other words, a sort of triangle. White is going to lose even more material, will not be able to avoid that. Please bear in mind that Carlsen cracked under pressure in this game. would have entered an entirely new scenario of the match. Instead, Magnus didn't crack. Instead, he clings to his main trump, the knight on d6. This is probably what Leonard Barden in his book Play Better Chess would have called a Steinitz knight. That's a knight deep in enemy country that's guarded by a pawn or series of, or two pawns maybe. Given the big heat on the board, it says 19, knight takes a4, doesn't look like it's worth mentioning. There's courtesy of FIDE, here is a photograph of Magnus during the match. There's many sponsors' names here on his jacket and on the shirt. He is, to my eyes, he's half my age, still a very young man, but it's hard to believe he's been as world champion for as long as he has been, 10 years or something. Let's see if all the games are here. I don't know if they are, they aren't. I haven't examined it in that way. They put readers' comments down this side of the page. Yeah. I mean, some of them are just fly away flippancies, others are more considered narrative. Last days of the World Championship cycle, which obviously was kicked hither and thither. Yeah, here we are. To be held in Spain, and it's nice to have the exact dates, June the 16th to the 7th of July. And they're saying who the challengers are, the qualifiers. I won't read out the list, but if you want to know it, and I hope that you do, go to Twic or something like that. Yeah, they haven't given all the games. That must be because they've given them elsewhere. So they stopped. Or it may be fresh analysis of the games. So what's this one? That's game 9. Game 2. It didn't end after 9 games. It ended after 11. And they did play to the end. They played the original schedule. The Wonderful World of Chess Technique. And there is Jacob Agard. Smiling. The Grand Swiss in Riga. Won by Farrugia. Who's come upon the chess world so fast that I can't quite believe it. But that is the way that the system operates now. And I think in that respect it's correct that it does. You don't want somebody, more players are emerging all the time. Spassky used to say they're emerging like mushrooms. Section here on rook endings. What more could you want? A complete game with notes. And here they are. I suppose one day these pictures will be scrutinized and perhaps even laughed at. Now, of course, asks. I don't know whether they are compulsory in all FIDE events or what will, and you will perhaps have views on this subject, possibly quite strong ones. The little boy that became a grandmaster. I think he looks rather more a little boy than he does a grandmaster, but I don't mean that disrespectfully to him, nor those who support him and help. There he is. I'll read out his name. He is Christopher Yu, Y-O-O, from Dublin, California. I know what you're thinking. Dublin is an island. Well, it is. It's the capital, isn't it, of the Republic. And there's one of his games here. And it's a Lopez. It's a Carl. Centre attack against the Lopez. The great favourite of Nigel Shorts as a little boy. And here's Christopher Yu again. Here's more juniors games. It's not very likely that you would see these games in other publications. So it is well worth getting it just for that reason. Here he is, saying that he's got a norm. There we are. A norm, I suppose it's short for normal, isn't it? And it's worked out for a Grandmaster norm. So you have to get so many games and so many norms. It's probably up to 24 games or 3 norms. Normally a tournament would be 9 rounds or more. So in that event, if that's the computation which you wish to submit with your application, probably 3 9 to 27. God, I'm getting good at maths. Some team events here. This is a national event, the Collegiate Chess Championships. Yes, Americans seem better than continental teams tend to be sponsored, possibly quite heavily. But of course, if you sponsor quite heavily, you do expect returns on your investment, which might explain why some of them are fairly short-lived. But this looks like a national event. And once again, we in Europe, here in England, we don't have, we have team events. Of course we do. The 4 nations and leagues and so forth. The tournament is further proof that chess is a sport with its many unexpected turns, unpredictability, and surprises. UTRGV. There's one thing I can't stand is people that keep on using all sorts of abbreviations. Has won 3 consecutive national championships, as always as an underdog. The other teams, with their world-class stars, are not able to overcome our team spirit. Well, that's lovely. So let me take back what I just said. And here's the little logo. It's a cowboy. Yahoo! Down there, see? And if you know what that stands for, it says Collegiate Chess. If you know what that stands for. This is an article by GM Alexander Mister. Yes. The final 4. Yes, it says obviously it had to stop because of COVID. It says that Mr. is a seasoned grandmaster from Poland, now residing in Texas. His biggest tournament successes were in the Polish Championships, where he came 3rd, and he won the Hastings Masters. I didn't know that. And he won the Najdorf Memorial in Warsaw. Oh, that's nice. Najdorf lived for very many years in Argentina, but he was originally from Poland. The war came, which influenced him staying there. A long article on the closed Sicilian, something I've been looking at recently. Having said that, I'm shamed into silence because I haven't been through this at all, but nevertheless, it is the closed Sicilian. So that was with E4, E4C5, knight C3, and you probably would play a kingside fianchetto, bishop on G2. Yes, it explains. First, a brief word of the name of Sicilian. Sicilian defense dates back to 1594. Does it really? I didn't know that. And the move was first analysed by Guillermo Valerio in his manuscript. This way of opening the game is absolutely defensive and very far from being the best, says Philidor. Well, Philidor, I should stick to saying the same old things over and over again if I were you, like I do. And here is a game by my old mate, Sir George Thomas. There's actually a picture of him looking well groomed. It's extremely likely this was at Hastings. Yes. Picture of Smyslov. Again at Hastings. And then a World Championship game with very detailed notes. And it mentions that wonderful book, Chess Openings for Amateurs by Pete Tamburo. And then it mentions the closed Sicilian move by move. So it mentions the good, the bad, and the ugly. Here's Smyslov. And the pieces, as you can see, are the old-fashioned wooden ones. Swanson pattern. Can't argue with that. The boy, Duncan Suttles. Suttles had his own way of playing these things. And Nigel, who switched to playing the closed Sicilian against Kasparov. I dare say he got pretty frustrated, no matter what he played. It leaves open the possibility to think more freely, and while no new ideas have presently been found on move 6, novelties continue to crop up. Some of them work and some of them don't, and that is what makes the closed Sicilian such an interesting opening. Well, that's fair enough. Now here's Thinker's Press. We'll put in an advert. Most of these books, in fact all of these books, I haven't seen. One is by Craig Pritchard, who is a Scot. And one is by Daniel Fernandez. So there we are. And I can assure you they're all worthy of your time, but it may not be your style. There we are. And there's the one by Pritchard. In the fast lane with Ryo Chen. The American chess scene is ever witnessing new talents. Yes. And FM, who's just recently gained his first IM norm. And there is the young man. Probably didn't particularly, I don't mean this disrespectfully, like being photographed. He might like to demonstrate his moves. I expect his mother will love him to death. And I hope he has grandparents who also get hunting copies of that. And here he is playing no less a player than Yermolinsky. Yes. And he won. He won against Yermolinsky. He was outrated by over 300 ELO points. It says Ryo is not afraid of anyone. Great deal of strength, extensive knowledge of the openings, though not necessarily through specific theory, and a very dynamic playing style. Yermolinsky played, I think I can associate this with him fairly strongly as well, the Alakan Defense. Not something we see that much these days, although it's around. Here's the Norm Invitational. I get annoyed when tournaments are actually called norms, as if the only reason to bring them together is to get titles. Well, it's not. But that's just me being A, old-fashioned, and B, holier than thou. The Star-Spangled Opera and Chess Success. This is obviously chess and opera are normally associated in chess circles with Paul Morphy's legendary game played long ago. Yes, 1858. In case this melodramatic presentation interests you, no, it is. I'm afraid I'm a bit of a purist, as I just said. Although I do like singing, but I'm not sure. I guess in both chess and performance, I especially love using the element of surprise to entertain the audience or the opponent. That's where brilliance is come for in chess. And this is a quotation from, presumably, either the composer or one of the singers. On paper or on computer screen, you can't tell what age players are if you just see the moves, so age doesn't matter as long as the player wins. And here they are at the piano. Quite a nice picture. Here we are. I've just read that quotation. They're quoting a game with a few notes by the writer of the article, whose name is Rizika, Nathan Rizika. And here is our friend Josh Waitskin. Never lose sight of your winning chances. This is another article. This is by Alex Fishbein, as I suppose his fellow Americans would pronounce it. And he was residing in Tennessee, and he gives a little bit of biographical stuff. I'm told that this is amongst the best Endgame articles ever. I got that straight from Pete Tamburo. You try arguing with Pete Tamburo and see how far you get. All I can say about him is he's on the James Pratt diet. It ain't over till it's over. The following article will provide you with instructive advice on how to detect and how to react to those challenging situations when there's a chance for you to completely turn the tide. Add to that some body languages, gestures, and you're likely to earn the reputation of being a fearsome opponent! Exclamation mark. And here's a very fearsome opponent, or actually two actually, Jan Timman and Boris Gelfand, two gentlemen of chess there. Both of them challengers for the World Championship in their time. And here's somebody that knows a little bit about the World Chess Championship. Anatoly Karpov. And even though these are much older games from the 1980s, they're put in because of their endgame content, and it's not just rehash. Far from it, I'm sure. There's Mr. Kamsky. A situation where you were recently winning and now need to make sure you can draw. It's one of the most dangerous situations in practical chess. In other words, do you have the mindset and the flexibility to go from winning hands down to scraping together half a point? And here is the blog of Grandmaster Alex Kolovich. And this is www.alexkolovich.com. And he is author of The Sank Field Chess Generation, which is a book that's come out recently. I haven't seen it, but I could imagine it's quite good. It might be very good, as I say. I haven't seen it. Of course, if anyone likes to send me a copy, I could review it here, couldn't I? Okay, Levitin, Alex Levitin, writes about madness. This is a page of sort of a travelogue. Lisbon is a city built upon and around a collection of hills. I thought that was Rome. The crucial moments when the tree stump actually was a man, actually was a member of the unknown tribe, a hostile clan, your sudden leap into flight might well have saved your life. But that night, in the oldest theatre in Lisbon, patterned recognition was imposed on me in an oppressive, even terrifying manner. I wondered during the game, during most of the play, whether my friend would have to take me to an insane asylum. Da, 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 da. It says that the author, I'll just say his name, Levitin, is an English professor for 50 years. He began playing chess at the age of 6 with 2 solid Russian chess players. He has received 2 trophies from the Polgar Chess Authority. And here's an article by somebody for whom can do no wrong for me, Mr. John Edwards. John won the US closed postal championships some years back. And he's also written several good books, some of which I've looked at. And it says he's an ICCF Senior International Master. And is now competing in the World Championship candidates. He's written more than 40 books. I didn't know that. He's written Sacking the Citadel, which I found a little bit indigestible, but it is very detailed, of Greek gifts against the Castle King. There's a picture of him, so in case you can see him at all, there he is. And has a pleasant presentation, nice pastel shades, colours. This is called Chess Tech. And they're talking about a bloke from Holland. I think he wrote The Countdown. I cannot pronounce his name, Dr. Harold. Forgive me. I am no linguist. I don't know how to pronounce it. Some book reviews by Mr. Carsten Hansen. He writes the book El Viejo, which is the book about Najdorf. He reviews 10 books here. I think, quite frankly, he should maybe either be afforded more space, or he should review fewer books but in more detail, giving examples. One of them here, which I haven't seen, but I gather is quite widely available, is Oops, I Resigned Again, by Ian Rogers. Ian Rogers has not given up to writing books, and so therefore, when he does, I want to know all about it. The Coffee House Repertoire books by Gwaine Jones. I was looking at his Banter Blitz earlier tonight, and there's an advert for BCM, which I used to edit. I've no financial interest in it, but I'm just showing you that for your interest. The Street Fighting Years, Koblenz, book about Tao. All in all, this is a fascinating account of one of the greatest attackers in chess history, written by the person who knew him best, his coach. I'm sure he did know Tao very well. And I also think that his annotations, of course, flawed as any 6-year-old annotations are bound to be, particularly when compared to what engines like Stockfish can spit out in seconds. Therefore, the publishers partnered up with international master Bronsnik, who has carefully gone over the games and annotations with engines, new details and facets of these familiar games. I think that's fair enough. The best Endgames of the World Champions by Carsten Müller. I reckon that would be for the serious student. See, it's purple with the little heads, like potato cuttings. Like potato cuttings. I'm so funny. Of the World Champions, going right back to Lasker, I think. Yes. There's Q&A, and here we have Mr. There we are. There's his name. Written sideways. He's German. From your own experience, can you recall any specific types of opening position or endgame theme that as an aspiring chess player should be sure to study of particular importance? I'm not going to tell you what the answer he gives is. It's fairly brief. You should be reading this magazine and taking it as a subscription. Here's an advert for McFarlane, American publisher I love so well. I've probably got all these books and they're all very interesting. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is that. I've been looking through issue 25 from 2022. On the Rise. No Trespassing. The Battle of the 31-year-olds. Close Sicilian. Never lose sight of your winning chances. My Perfect Home Run. Interview. Undefeated Carlsen retains his title after winning longest ever World Championship match game. That doesn't really mean a thing, does it? Putting it there. Anyway, there we are. Once again, I can only repeat. They've made it look like a sci-fi magazine. If that's what they wanted, I hope they do well. I happen to know they are already doing well, but it wouldn't do for me. This is James Pratt signing off. I'd like to thank you for your time.